Okay, we're recording now. Ronnie, please go ahead.
All right, great. Thanks, Ray. And hello, everyone. Ronnie Hammond, the Director for the Office of Statewide Broadband. Thank you all for joining us on this webinar. This webinar is really to entail our challenge process and the steps thereof, including our timeline, as well as what that portal and entry is going to look like throughout the entire process. So thank you all for joining. As you may be aware, last week, we received, early last week, we received approval on our initial proposals, which kind of spares us into the beginning of this challenge process. Now, this challenge process is about 90 days, first 30 days, and Ray will go over some of this information. The first 30 days are for challenges, next 30 days are rebuttals, and the final 30 are for just determinations through our office. So I just wanted to point that out, as well as I'm going to drop in the chat an email for any questions that may not get covered in this webinar. We do have an email dedicated to BEAD, and so I'll drop that email address in the chat as well. Joining us is about half of our broadband team, myself, Ray Bargy, who's the Deputy Director, Liam Doherty, who's our GIS Administrator, as well as Bridget Okren, who's also one of our administrators within the office. Bridget's going to be recording and taking down questions so that we can build FAQs or add them to our FAQs on our website as well. So thank you, everyone. And we ask that you do hold questions towards the end as we're going through the slides. I think Ray may take some questions after the slides, but once we get into once Liam starts to get into the presentation of the portal, we just ask that you hold any questions that you may have towards the end as well. So thank you, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Ronnie. I appreciate you getting us started. So again, everybody, welcome. It's glad to see everybody's, it's glad to see everybody's here. A lot of, familiar faces and familiar names. That's wonderful. So what I want to do is go ahead and get us started. I know some other people are still joining, but I think we want to be on time here. So today, so we're going to talk a little bit about the MEAD and the BEAD challenge process. Liam, if you could please advance to the next slide. Okay, so our agenda for today, we're going to start with overview of the BEAD program, followed by challenge process overview. Then we go and talk about, excuse me, the allowable challenges and challengers, and follow that by going over the different phases of the challenge process, and then the requirements and evidence. Then we say a little bit about the speed test requirements, and then we go and talk about the area and MDU challenges, and finally the next steps. And of course, we have Liam from our team will do a demo of the portal and registration, and then we have the questions and answers. Of course, as Ronnie said, the chat box is there, and please, start, writing your questions. We hope to capture as many questions as possible. Maybe some of them get answered real time, but I think most of it we're going to capture and then come back with answers and actually put it on our FAQs. Next slide, please. So, overview of the Broadband Equity Access Deployment BEAD program. So the goal of the program was for NTIA to award all states, and in this case, Maryland, with $267.7 million to connect all unserved and underserved locations. I'm sure you guys saw the government's public announcement about this last week. The key components of the program, it's a 5-year program. Initial proposal volume 1 and 2. Volume 1 is really focused around the challenge process, which we're talking about today. Volume 2 is more about how you manage the process and deployment. Now, so again, another key component is challenge process. And then, of course, once we're done with the challenge process, that 90-day process, then we move on to the sub-grantee selection, which basically, we get into the details of that later in regards to the request for applications, etc. Next slide. Challenge process overview. So our goal is to ensure a fair, transparent, and evidence-based process. We also want to ensure that our map accurately reflects each location's access to broadband. And of course, we have to determine which locations are eligible for funding. This is it. This is where we're gonna, we're gonna make sure that we have all the locations that we need to fund and take care of them. So, and then finally, just want to mention that we adopted the NTIA BEAD model challenge process. I know some states deviated, a good bit. We did not. Our process is just pretty much similar to what NTIA had proposed. Next slide. Okay, so we start talking about the allowable challenges and challenges. So who can challenge? Units of local government. We have you guys are well represented here. Broadband service providers, you all represented here. Then the nonprofit organizations, and I think those units are also presented here. Challenges, the type of challenges: existing broadband service or a planned service, eligibility identification of community anchor institutions. So it could be that, hey, is it a CAI or not? Or does it have a 1 gig by 1 gig speed? In regards to the awards, also enforceable commitments. Is it awarded or not? Like we say, this is awarded. Somebody may not say no, or they may challenge that, or vice versa. Next slide, please. The 4 phases we have here. The first phase is really pre-phase, and that's what it is the registration. That started July 9th. We got our portal going. I think a good number of people have already registered. Maybe later Liam will tell us how many people have registered or have been approved. And the data publication was supposed to be July 14th. That was based on the original timeline that we had to start the challenge process on 15th, but everything got moved by 1 day. So the data publication is happening today, and it would be completed by end of the day today. I know some of you have sent me emails about that. So then the next phase is, of course, the challenge process, which it starts tomorrow, July 16, and it will go on till August 15. The third phase would be the rebuttal phase, and that's between August 16 and September 15. And then the final determination, where our office will be looking at, adjudicating what's left, and basically come up with the list that we have to send to NTIA for their approval. And they may take, well, they could take as much time as they want, but typically they say maybe 30 days. They could also approve it earlier. We hope they can do it earlier. Next slide, please. Registration and data publication. Right. So we started again July 9th. The publication is pretty much is mostly done. I think there's a couple of things that it's going to happen a little bit after this call, and then it will all be there before we start tomorrow. The portal, everything has to be submitted through the portal. So you can't just send an email to me with a lot of attachments and say, here it is. But the portal, it's not necessarily a fancy portal, but it works. It's just simple enough, and we will talk about it later. Okay, next slide, please. Challenge phase. The challenges submit through the OSB portal. The evidence, we have to get the minimum level of requirements. All of these have been explained in our what we call our standard operating procedure, but that's really just otherwise just our guideline. Basically, our guideline, which is on our website. If you read that, then that should answer, I would say, maybe 90%, 95% of questions. So the challenges would be visible. There would be visibility to the service providers. So the ISPs would know who's challenged them and what the challenge is about, so they can contest it. The timeline again, July 16th to August 15th. Next slide. Rebuttal phase. Only the challenge service providers may rebut, and they were the only ones, like we said, that can see it. So the options they have is to rebut, leave unrebutted, or concede the challenge. And that goes from August 16 to September 15th. Next, please. Key requirements and evidence. Allowable challenges. I touched upon this on the other slide, but just to recap, these are the type of challenges: availability, speed, latency, data cap, technology, business service, enforceable commitment, planned service, like if the ISP is as planned and it's going to they're going to be constructing, or or under construction, and CAI type of challenges. Evidence, there could be a variety of evidence. Again, this is the detail. There's a lot of detail and nice tables in the guide, or in our guide, that explains for every type of challenge what type of evidence is accepted. But generally, there's screenshots, service requests, refusals, speed tests, construction contracts, etc. Next. So just picked up on the speed test requirements. In this case, that's the one that a lot of you will be doing it, and it has a lot of specific requirements and how it's supposed to be done and when it's supposed to be done. And I'm not going to get through all that nitty-gritty detail here, but just going to, at a very high level, say that 3 measurements have to happen on different days. The test within 60 days of the challenge period. And there are different ways that we accept different forms of testing. It could be a gateway reading, it could be a speed test website, and so on. Next. Area and MDU challenges. So these are the specific challenges. So the area challenge, that's triggered by 6 or more challenged locations in a census block group. So as you see, for example, we say here that it could be 7 challenges are entered for availability, listing DSL as the technology. So in this case, we have just one technology, DSL, and we have more than 6 or more. So that is in a one census block group. And what that does is that, well, in that case, the ISP who would rebut will have to now basically provide evidence for the whole census block group. That's what's the significance of the area challenge. Next, please. Now we go to MDU challenges. So MDU challenges, the idea here is to reduce the burden for the challengers. So in this case, if you are an MDU with less than 15 units, then all you need is one challenge, to provide one challenge. That one challenge triggers the entire building. If you are MDU, if you're an MDU with 16 to 24 units, then you only need 2 challenges to trigger the entire building. And if you're a big one, more than 24 units, then at least 3 challenges for those larger buildings. Next, please. Next steps. So the next step is really to register for the challenge process portal. Based on these last several days, I saw a few things. I just say one of it. I was surprised that the ISPs, some of them did not have the license, the COSCOS license. They thought the FCC license they have, that's what they need, but that's not it. It's not your FCC license. It's the COSCOS license. It's the Tier D license that you need. And then the local government units need to have the Tier E. So anyway, I think that's being sorted out, and we communicate. Once you try to register and there is an issue, we communicate very quickly and let you know what needs to be done. So anyway, registering for portal and getting approved, and then submitting your challenges, of course, and then participate and stay engaged. We want everybody to, be very much engaged with us. We're going to be very busy. We know that. But we're also going to be very responsive and quickly get back to you with any questions that you have. So next, let's see, I think we're getting into the yes. So this is now the part that Liam is going to do the demo in regards to registration and portal demonstration. Liam, handing it off to you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the meeting. I'm going to start the demo for the portal now. So the best place to start is our website. You can get here by searching MD OSB on any search engine. And you want to navigate to state plans. And this is going to take you to the BEAD page. And so here we have the BEAD broadband challenge process. And here are all of our helpful guides to help you with the challenge process. The second link here is the challenge portal. And then we have the challenge portal instructions. You're going to want to download the challenge portal instructions before doing anything else. And then you can navigate to the BEAD challenge portal. And so this is going to take you to a login page. I'm already logged in right now for the sake of expedience, but you're going to see a login page, and at the bottom it says sign up now. And it's going to ask you for a few details, first and last name, as well as your address and your organization. And once you register, you can log in immediately. It's going to ask for a verification that's sent to your email. So make sure to use a valid email when logging in. Once you're logged in, up top, we have the instructions again. You can download them here as well. We have the user profile, which we're on right now. And so this is going to be blank when you first log in. Right now, I have my own user profile that I've added. The default status is no. I've gone ahead and approved this profile, so the status is yes. But when you log in, you want to navigate here to add user profile. Here is going to ask you various details about your organization, what county you operate in, or counties. So we have CAI, ISP, and municipalities. You want to put your organization name. Please use the legal name that is used on the license, so we can verify the license without any back and forth. You're going to want to put your first and last name there, valid email address, and a valid phone number. So once you've added your user profile, that's going to send your profile over to us. And from there, we can verify your license. And then we can approve you. And once you're approved, a few things are going to open up. Over on the right here, we have a drop-down menu. And we have BEAD county files and file upload list. BEAD county files is where you're going to download and upload data. File upload list is a list of all of the files you've uploaded. So we're going to navigate to BEAD county files to begin. So here, you're going to see the county that you've registered for, or counties. And you're going to see all of the available data for that county, which is going to be served, unserved, underserved, enforceable commitments, and CAI. So once you've downloaded the data, you can then begin submitting challenges. And when you want to submit a challenge, you're going to go over here to the upload file section. So here you need to put an applicable name that represents the challenge adequately. In this case, it's just going to be test challenge. And right now, this account is only verified for Allegheny County, so there's no options, but you want to select the proper county for the challenge. And then you want to select the type of challenge you're submitting. So if you go to our user guide back on our webpage, it has descriptions about all of these challenges. But this is the entire list of all allowable challenges here. In this case, we're going to select availability. And then you just want to select a file to upload. And that's just going to bring up your browser, your Windows Explorer, to select a file. An important note is the file size may not exceed 50 megabytes. So that shouldn't be an issue, but it's important to remember that. And once you've selected a file, you want to go down and submit the challenge. And so I'll quickly select an applicable file here. In this case, it's going to be a CSV. And we'll submit it here. And that's going to upload the file to our internal portal. And here, that brings us to the file upload list, where you can see I've submitted several test challenges here. And this is going to be a record of all of the files you've uploaded. Now, that is for the challenge phase. The rebuttal phase is very similar. We'll be sending out, after the challenge phase ends, once the rebuttal phase begins, we're going to be sending out notifications at the beginning of the rebuttal phase, notifying challengers that they've been challenged, so they have the opportunity to rebut. The challenges are going to be published through the portal in the same manner that the original data is here. So for all of the counties that you have registered for, you can then download all of the applicable challenges for that county. And once you've been notified in the rebuttal phase, you have 30 days to rebut, provide evidence of rebuttal. We're going to be notifying everybody on the same day, the day that's shown in the user guide. So you'll have 30 days from that day to provide evidence of a rebuttal. And after the rebuttal phase, that's where we're going to be determining whether the challenge is sustained or rejected. With sustained being we accept the challenge as proper and accept that data. And if the rebuttal evidence provides ample evidence, then we will reject the challenge. That's the entirety of the portal. The portal is pretty simple. It's just a secure method of data transfer. A lot of our communication is going to be through email, but make sure you submit all data through the portal. And that is going to end the portal demo.
Okay. Thanks, Liam. So I believe we can now, basically entertain questions, and we provide some answers. I see some. We can start with the ones that are on the chat box, and some of these, if they're related to the portal, I'll pass it on to you, Liam. So I think the first question is that has the approved, IPv2 been published on DHCD? Yes. The versions of IPv1 and IPv2 that you will see on our website now, those are final versions. That's it. So that's the answer to that question. In regards to the next questions, will there be a way to submit the bulk challenges? Yes, I let you, Liam, answer the mechanics of that for the portal.
The bulk challenges, right?
Yeah, the question is, will there be a way to submit bulk challenges? Yes.
Yes. So depending on the size of the challenge, we do want to keep the challenges in a precise manner, targeting areas. So bulk challenges may or may not be acceptable depending on the content. But you shouldn't have an issue uploading any large files into the portal.
Okay. All right. So the next question says, will multiple users from one company be able to register individually? No, we're restricting it to one user because it's a matter of coordination and different people coming up with different things. So basically one person per organization. That's what we have on the portal. And the next question, let's see. I think I'm going in the order, right? Yeah. Will the BEAD county files be available for download beginning tomorrow? So you're talking about, yeah, what we're publishing in terms of unserved, underserved, enforceable commitments, and CAI unserved. Yeah, I believe that will be the case. We would be, I think they're all done. We just need to do a quality check and test it on our side. And that's something that Liam himself will be doing a little bit later today. Liam, you want to add anything else to that question?
Yeah, the BEAD County files will be available for download later today.
Okay. All right. Later today, whatever that time is. Okay.
And that is for approved applicants. Remember that you need to get an NTIA license if you haven't already to be accepted in the challenge process. That is not the same as the FCC tier 1 through 4 licenses. So please get the NTIA license so we can get you approved.
Okay, thanks, Liam. So I think there's another question. Then I want to, Mitzi's raising hand. Then I'll get to you, Mitzi. So there is a question about, is there a list of eligible nonprofits that can be a challenger? Yes, if you look at our guideline, there is a list of the categories, and also that's in our basically also that list is also in our IPv1. But I just mentioned it right now. There's 8 categories that are in regards to, we're talking about these list of basically CAIs that when we're talking about the nonprofits and so forth. But we're talking about the schools, libraries, health-related organizations, public safety, institutions of higher education, community facilities, correctional facilities, and public housing organizations. Those are the categories that we have identified and got approval from NTIA about this is the list that we have. Okay, so Mitzi, go ahead, and you have a question. Go ahead, please.
Hello. Hi. 2 questions about it. One, on the one you just said, is there a list of new CAIs where we can build to that you're putting out?
The
Based on the data we already submitted.
For those who have basically have access to the Costco, basically are approved for the CostQuest license and they're going to be approved on our portal. One of the files that's being published is the list that we have determined to be unserved CAIs. Then you will be able to see that.
I'm sorry. We put in the addresses and we can tell, or because you have a list?
You will see we are publishing the list of unserved CAIs. And we're not publishing it in the public on our website. You will have to be basically part of this process, which means you have the CostQuest license and you're approved on our portal. Then you will see what we have published in regards to the CAIs.
Okay, and those are community anchor institutions, Jay. So those are all the things that Ray mentioned: the schools, libraries, police stations, etc.
Yes.
Okay. So, and when is that list planning to go out?
Just like other lists, all lists are going to be later today, sometime later today. They just should be out. Are you approved? I don't know if you're approved on our website yet.
That's what I don't know, whether we are or we're not. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. If we work on getting that done this week, do we just, we'll just reach back out to you or something. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Okay. So then the other piece of this is the The other piece is when Liam demonstrated the portal. So for the MDUs, you have a property in which they meet that numeric number 1 through 2, 3. If those are submitted and you have those 3 requests, is that automatically trigger that you'll show it as unserved? Or are you doing, because what I'm trying to figure out is the resident comes and says, I subscribe to service, but I don't get 100 by 20. And the provider comes back and says, well, we offer it, but do they have to provide a speed test? I'm just trying to figure out how do you determine the validity of what the person stated?
Yeah, the challenger, obviously, if you look at our guideline, which is posted on our website now, if you look at it, first of all, there is a list of allowable challenges. I briefly on the presentation, I mentioned them, but there is a list of what's a permissible challenge. And then after that, we have a big list of a table that lists what type of evidence is needed. So in this case, if somebody is saying I'm not getting 120, then there is a list there saying, okay, you're going to have to provide a speed test, and this is how you do it, and how are you going to do the speed test? Yes, so there's in detail they have to read that, basically, so that not the resident, individual resident cannot, they don't have the cost plus license, they can't be part of this, but they're going through the jurisdictions and counties and so forth. So what will happen though? Those details as far as the type of how to conduct the speed test and so forth, they have to be followed. I mentioned it briefly, in a slide, number of tests and how to do it, etc. So that then can be submitted. So depending on the size of MDU, then you need less or more of those speed tests. And then on our portal. There is a category drop-down menu where you can choose this is a MDU or area challenge or MDU challenge. Okay, so when you go to choose what type of challenge it is, because there are different type of challenges, and that's a portal piece of this. Liam, do you want to add anything to it from a portal perspective?
Yes. So an MDU challenge could be generated from different challengers, depending on how it turns out. If you're not sure if it's an MDU or area challenge, go ahead and use the other challenge categories, such as availability. We can always find out on our end.
Okay. All right.
And you're going to send out again the link to these, where these are at. I mean, we're trying to figure out how to make the public more aware of some of these. So that's why we're trying to make sure that we're sending to the right spots.
It's all on our website. I mean, Liam can show it again. Everything is on our website. The user guide, which is the most important document. All your questions, if not all, probably 95% of it is answered in that guideline. So that's on our website. That's our general website. I'm sure you've been there, and I think Liam showed how to get there. And maybe Liam, while we answer other questions, Liam, maybe you can show it again, so the folks can see how to get to the documents.
Okay, and I see that again, and that's the key thing. It's under the state plans, not the grant programs.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Thanks, Mitzi. Okay. So what else do we have? Do we have any others? Okay, I see BK has raised a hand. BK, go ahead.
Yeah, Bob Kelly from St. Mary's. Thank you for hosting this and good information. I think I understand the MDUs. I think I get the government institutions. What I'm not real clear on, and I guess to date, most of the grants that have come, federal grants or state grants, basically they've just been kind of for individual unserved addresses in the community. Basically, the counties have been kind of given the funding and coordinating with our ISPs to this point. So we have a pretty robust database of who we think is unserved based upon that. And I'm just not sure what maybe you can explain to me what you think the role going forward with the locals in that area, and how we can leverage this process.
The local, with the local people in your county.
The local governments and what role you see us playing with in this for the individual addresses that are unserved.
Yeah, so you would be the challenger, basically. In typically the local counties would be the challengers, because you know the best. You are on the ground. You know what's going on. Where you are, and of course we are publishing different lists here in regard county by county. The data is being published county by county, and so what happens is that sorry, go ahead. You had some say, Bob?
Well, yeah, well, I guess my concern is that if it's being open tomorrow morning or this afternoon or whatever to all the challengers, including the ISPs, it's not likely. My guess is, actually, I'm pretty confident that the list that you have for St. Mary's is not accurate, since I just received an email this morning of some addresses that were connected this weekend. Yeah. So by releasing it to the ISPs right now, it's not really, from my perspective, it's not what I think is the most current list.
We're not releasing it to the. So basically, what happens is that, first of all, the whole reason for this process is to correct what we have. So the assumption is that, yes, the list and the map and everything we have is not complete and has to be corrected. That's the reason for the challenge process.
Yeah.
That you have stuff that we don't have. That's the whole reason that we are doing this. So then the way this works is that once you look at our data, this is the way it starts. The first 80 days, the challenge process, you say, for my county, St. Mary's, wait a minute. Okay, I see that there's some that you say that served, because the list of served is there. You say, no, wait a minute, those are not served. So I'm going to challenge it. But of course, you have to provide the evidence. And it could be vice versa too. But you provide the evidence. And once you provide the evidence, of course, this would be then targeted towards certain ISP or ISPs that would be visible to them. That challenge would be visible to them. It's not like for everybody, like others, they don't care and there's no reason for them to be challenged. This is targeted towards certain ISP or ISPs, and they're the ones that once we get to the rebuttal phase, then they're the ones who, they can concede, or if they don't, it could be sustained, or if they basically challenge your challenge, they're going to have to provide evidence. And
understood. Okay, so then that's actually under the category of availability, right? Available.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I misunderstood that. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, you got it. Okay. So Jay, please go ahead. Jay, you're on. Okay, Jay, I guess.
Yeah,
Jay...
let me unmute.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
The first thing is, Carroll County has put out an RFP that was awarded to both Comcast and Verizon. I know the state doesn't have these addresses, and there are approximately 900 addresses that need to be submitted to the state. Should I submit those as a challenge, or?
Yeah. It would be. There was a time to do this. You could have earlier done it differently, but now that we've started the process, yes, you're gonna go in there and say this is you're gonna have to do it through this challenge process. And again, it could be. This goes both ways. It could be that we say it's unserved and you say it's served. You're going to challenge that, say, no, you guys, saying it's unserved. I say it's served, and here is proof of it. Or it could be the other way around. Yes, now you got to do it through the challenge process.
Okay, no problem there. Now, with the long driveway grant, we're going to have areas that typically you would call served, but because the house is in a long driveway, that house is unserved. Now, the question is, there's going to create somewhat of an gray area. We're still going through that process at this point and may not have a complete list of long driveways. We do have, a list of about 150 now that we can submit. How do you want us to handle that?
Well, that's a very good question. And this is a question that we raised with the NTIA, and they said, we understand there's going to be an overlap. There are awards that's going to be given while we are going through, you are going through your challenge process. So yes, I think we got to do our best to include everything that we have as of this time. Okay. And would it be future awards later? Yes. They're based on, you guys, some of the counties have their own awards, and there may be other things that happen. But there is an overlap between BEAD and basically the Treasury awards and funds that are being given. So this is something that we are aware of, and we got to do the best we can for the data that we have right now.
That makes sense.
Yes. So, okay, let me see. I think there's different questions. I want to answer, make sure I answer the ones from the chat too. But on the chat, I think somebody asked, how long does it take to get the license? I think the license is, for our experience, has been just a few days. I mean, unless there is an issue that they have some questions, the license shouldn't take very long. But I would encourage you, since the whole challenge process is 30 days, and we can't really extend that. Now the dates are set. So if you don't have the license, that's where you have to push hard to get that license. And if you're not getting the support and CostQuest, I don't know, for some reason is not approving you're, let's say you are an OSB or a local government, which they should approve, then we're very happy to help you and support you. But that's really your number one thing to do if you haven't got your license. So yeah, please do that. Okay. Let's go with John Davis. John, go ahead.
Yeah, so as a follow-up real quick to the license process, there's just some confusion over Tier D or Tier E and what the requirement is. If you read it, it's just confusing. So if you could explain that piece of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, Tier D is for the ISPs. The ISPs have to apply for Tier D. The local government, counties, they got to apply for Tier E. That's it. There's one little exception there. Okay, I mentioned it here, but that probably doesn't apply at all. Let's say a county or a jurisdiction is going to be their own service provider. They're going to be doing their own thing. Okay, well, that's maybe there are some that are thinking about that, but that's probably not the case. But otherwise, that's it. That's the way the Tier D goes.
That's fine. One real quick follow-up to Jay's question before on the long driveway grant. So yeah, we're in the same boat. We have 120 sites or whatever that we are targeting for that. We haven't completed our agreement, but we think 98% of the time, this is going to get approved. We're going to have those sites. Do you want those sites in a list as a challenge to, is that how you want us to do it? Or what process do you want us to use to tag those sites that we believe are going to be in that grant?
Well, up to just even like probably last few days, different counties were sending it to me, and we were quickly reviewing and approving those locations and say, yeah, that's it. But now I think
they were submitted. We did submit a list with our application,
right?
So that was submitted. It's been tweaked a little bit here and there, but for the most part, it's the same.
Exactly, John, and that's what we said. We said you could change it. Like people ask me. A lot of people say, "Well, we're giving you a preliminary, list of this, but we're still checking and may change and priorities may change." Understood. So I think at this point, it would be easier if we we put it into the challenge process, because
Okay.
I think that will go into the enforceable commitments. It's very simple. We will see. You can also mention there that, hey, this is part of the DSP program. At this point, if we do it, then we'll end up being two different processes going on here, right? So I think we
Right.
stick to one process now. From starting tomorrow, I suppose, because that's the start of the challenge process. And yeah, because we've been processing these, and I know Liam and I talked, and I said, Liam, because we had some, and I said, as we were putting together the list of enforceable commitments, he said, okay, let's do this last one. It was particularly from one ISP, and they said, well, let's just put all those in, and that's it, and then let's go with that. So, Liam, do you want to add anything else?
As far as data on the portal,
Well, no, I mean, as far as the last data, the very last that we got into the enforceable commitments, it's not going to be everything, but we've got the latest that we got, and you were putting in the last information about the last ISP that you did. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
the enforceable commitments will include all BSL within previous award areas, and it's up to challengers to tell us whether or not they think they're included in their enforceable commitment.
Yeah. So okay. So basically, yeah, yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, we're gonna use this just one process now. It's
All right,
going to
that's
be
fine.
through the challenge. Yeah, it's
Thank
because you guys are empowered to determine which locations to do. You just by the MOU that we have, you just have to let us know and get our blessing. That's what it is in regards to the DSP. Yeah. Okay, but to be very clear, we're gonna use starting tomorrow. We're gonna use the challenge process for all of that. All right.
Okay. I have lists. No problem.
Okay. All right. No problem, John. Okay. So let me see. Is anybody else raising hands? I don't see any raised hands. And are there any questions that I don't know? I lost track of the questions on the chat. Maybe I answered them, all of those. Okay. Well, basically, does anybody else have any question? Okay. Mike Simmons. Okay. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is mostly for Liam.
Okay.
Liam, I was wondering if you had any sense on how long it takes for CostQuest to send you the paperwork to complete the license. I finished it up on Friday. They said they were going to send me a document to sign, and I haven't seen it yet. I know technically it hasn't been a whole day. Any idea how long that takes?
Right. We've talked to CostQuest about this, and they told us it would be at most a few days to get that through.
Okay, so I don't need to worry yet. Maybe tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It shouldn't take long, a few days at the most to get the license.
Okay, and then my last question or next question is, once I fill that application out, do I need to contact you, or will you know that we've completed our application and you change this over to approved?
So we get the license information on a weekly basis. So if you're just getting your license now, you want to send us documentation that shows you have the license, the NTIA Tier D or E license.
Yeah, that's a good advice. Our data could be 1 week old. We get it. They send us an update about who has the license once a week. So that means like, okay, so if we just got that data today and you get your license tomorrow, well, we're not going to know for let's say 6 days. So yes, please send us the proof that you were approved for the CostQuest license. Yes.
Yep. And once we get that, we can approve you immediately. So.
Okay.
You can ignore the email I sent to you earlier then. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Any other questions? Now, I know Ronnie mentioned this, and it's also in the presentation. By the way, the slides and the recording of this webinar, and then also the slide, we will post that. We will ask our webmaster to post it on our website, the same place that we got everything else. But one important thing was that where to ask your question. That osb.bead@maryland.gov. And I think that's still in the chat box. That please use that one to send any and all your questions. Okay, so any other questions? Still have a little bit of time here, and certainly would like to answer all questions. Did we answer all the questions from the chat box? Okay. So yeah, Bridget is working on putting all these questions. We got a lot of good questions and questions here, and basically, and we provide the answers, and this will all go into our FAQs. I mean, I know a lot of people attended this webinar, but there's still some people that couldn't attend. Okay. So let me see. While we're waiting for the next question, potential next question, what can I say? Again, our IPv1, IPv2 is all approved. Those versions, approved versions, are on the website. And you know how to go get to that link that everything is, where everything is. We mentioned user guide several times. All the information is there. That should answer a lot of good questions. Let's see. Any questions? I mean, it doesn't matter what type. These, even if you want to ask anything else, that's fine with me. I think some of the questions about the DSP and what do we do about that, those were very good, because that's a challenge. That's a challenge by itself. But again, we did understand. We realized that there will be an overlap. There's no good time to do your challenge process, because actually some of the states did it even earlier, and maybe even a bigger issue for them. As it is with the DSP and public housing, we're approaching towards exhausting our treasury grants. Yeah. Okay. So everybody good with the portal? Liam, maybe you can update us how many folks have been approved?
There have been about 10 users approved so far.
Okay, and you had to reject I guess a good number because they didn't have the license, right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So yeah, the key is to get the license, and yeah. Okay. Still have a couple of minutes. I'm happy to stay on. I mean, just answer any other questions that you may have.
Hey, Liam, just a quick follow-up to that. So if you rejected someone because they didn't have the license,
yes,
and then, because I'm in the process of getting the license, so will we need to reapply, or will you just get that and then approve it, or how does that need to work?
So if you've already applied, then you don't need to reapply. You just need to send us evidence of the license, and we'll approve you.
Perfect. Thanks.
Right.
And this question was in the chat earlier, but we'll be accepting one representative from each entity for the challenge portal.
Can that be a contractor?
Well, that could be an issue. You'll have to run that by us because yeah, typically we are quite concerned about just those. And we check the emails, we verify like if it's from this county, it has to be the official email, etc. If you verify, if you let us know, then yeah, it's it like you say, this is it, this is you, this is from your county and so forth. Then we will go and approve it. But if they just send it, we're not going to be going to say, well, this is not from this county or that county or Montgomery County, then the answer would be no. But if it's the one that you are approving, then you let us know. But of course, they need to understand that of course as far as the data that is being shared and everything, and this is not, there is a reason we can't put everything in the public, because that's what FCC has told us, that you have to make sure those who get to see the data, they have the license and so forth. So yeah, but so if you want to do that, Mitzi, that they run it by us, so that to say, hey, this is the email, this is the person, that's works for me, then I think we will do that. That's the way to go about that one. Yeah.
Okay, and then do you have an idea of how much you're estimating of the spending is going to be in rural, urban, MDUs and CAIs?
No, I mean, okay, so some months ago we did some modeling and some analysis of basically we said we had this much allocated to us, 267.7. What happens, how far is it going to go, and so forth. We've done some thinking and modeling and estimating and these things like that, but no, there's nothing that we have that we would say that we haven't allocated anything, we haven't done anything, nothing. Basically, it's going to be, this is really it. We got to fix our maps, we got to fix our locations, so that we come out of this out of this process saying, okay, now we have a list, we know exactly which locations need to be funded, which locations are unserved, underserved, etc. And then that definitely, that's going to give us a better idea, a much better idea. So no, we have not allocated, separated the funding into those different buckets of urban, suburban, rural. No, nothing like that. Yeah, that's to be determined. Yeah, that's a good question. And so our reviewers will look at it. They will be looking at the evidence very carefully, and if they see that the evidence is not good, then they're gonna email you and say, this is not working, this is not according to the minimum level of evidence, and please change it or send it differently. I think we could run into that for example, the speed test. There's the very, very specific requirements for that on how to do it. But yeah. Okay, Jay has raised. Jay, go ahead. You had another question. Go ahead.
Yeah, not a question, but this is pertains to the email that I asked you.
Oh yeah, go ahead. That's a good time. Go ahead.
Okay. Most of you on here that are aware of Capito know who I am and what Capito is. Capito, and some of you, I'm going to screw this up, is Capital Area Telecommunications Officers and Advisors. I think I got that right. It's an organization for Maryland, Virginia, and DC for people like the county administrators, cable administrators, and broadband administrators. And we meet once a month to discuss topics related to this subject and cable topics also. If you're not part of it and you are a head of a county broadband office or cable administrator, please reach out to me to join the meetings. We will be having a special meeting coming this Friday at 10:30 to discuss how we may be able to work together to help each other with some of this, especially some of the smaller counties that may not have an administrator or may need some help trying to work through this process. So the plan, the idea here is for all of us to kind of work together and help each other out to make this successful. I put my email address in the chat. I'll put it back in there again, so it's towards the end of the message. But feel free to reach out to me. I am the Carroll County Broadband Manager, so you can also find me that way. Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Jay. So yeah, well, if there are no other questions, I think we're gonna end here. This is, I'm sure there will be other questions as you guys go through this, and we are here to answer, every single question. We will be responding very quickly to your questions. So I really appreciate you guys helping, across the state. We work together, collaborate, and make sure we get this right. We get the right locations that need to be basically funded, and so on. And we finalize our map, and then we go and get NTIA to approve that. So this is very, very important. This is a critical step in this process. So, and again, thank you all for attending today, for your questions, and for your participation. We'll be in touch, and thank you again.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you all. Thank
And
you.
Liam. And
Thank
Ronnie.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.